So Jeff, we were neighbors in Sherman Oaks, California, and you moved to LA from Austin, Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you just came there on your own? Didn't know
I literally
anyone?
loaded the truck and moved to Beverly. Literally had to put through my stuff.
I think that used to be a TV show. Okay. And so you got into the development industry. You're in development.
Right. I
Government
have
project.
a company, brookhurstcorp.com, BROKHURSTCORP.com. We develop projects for government. We fund projects when government can't afford it, build it. They lease it from us, and then when they can afford it, they take over.
Okay. And I sneaked and got on your website and saw that you have a ton of accomplishments. So I just wanted to mention,
Hey,
I feel
before
very
we get
honored
into
that you're my friend.
I was just to say, before we get into the accomplishments, I thought we were going to make a toast for the new year, right?
Oh, let's do that. And
Are
we
you ready,
happen to
Jess?
we planned this, and we all have our cocktail of
Whoa. Now
Okay,
that's
okay.
heavy duty. I'm drinking wine.
What kind of wine are you having, Kimbra?
Just red wine. I think it's
Red
called
wine.
Bone
You don't know the
Terra.
kind? Okay.
Terra.
I'm having raspberry vodka and cranberry juice. And Jeff, what's your poison? I guess Jack and Coke?
Yeah, standard. By the way, if ever anyone offers you red wine from Texas,
Yeah.
run away.
It's
Run
not
away.
Not a good choice.
It's
Not a good climate.
I don't know. Anytime somebody offers me wine from Texas, they say how great it is. And, heck, we're spoiled out here in California. We got the best vineyards.
Yeah, I remember I took a French
Better
class
climate.
once, it's sort of off topic, but the professor was from Belgium, and he'd say, you Californians have the best red wine. It's just as good as France and Belgium. And at the time I wasn't a wine drinker, so I was like, oh, whatever, I don't know. But it's been proven, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Not too far from the Temecula wine valley, which is, if you've never been to Temecula, it's like a mini Napa.
oh, I love Temecula.
Mhm.
I've been there.
Oh yeah, they got some great Cabernets there.
Yeah. So good. Well, good. So Kelly, you were talking about his accomplishments.
Well, yeah, I was just getting ready to do a little bragging. How impressive all of his accomplishments are on his website. You can go and read them if you want, but you've done a lot of things in the industry. You wrote a book or two about real estate development.
About what I do. I authored chapters. Somebody would be publishing a book, and they'll ask me to do a chapter or two. And I've done that a couple of times.
Okay. Yeah, I was just really impressed. And then, of course, what I know of what you do is the charities. You used to work with a children's charity, Unicamp. Is that?
Yeah.
right?
And oh, by the way, I got my staff shirt for summer camp. I was a camp counselor a couple of years ago. My wife's Armenian, and this was the Armenian church camp, and they lassoed me to go up there and allowed me to corrupt the kids.
They trusted
That's
you with
funny.
children. Oh my.
Well, they
Yeah,
kept an
right.
eye on it.
Well, is that the one that you and your wife are doing now?
No, my wife is she started a charity in Armenia for young women. A lot of people don't realize this, but in that part of the world, like Armenia, if a young woman doesn't have anywhere to go, she usually ends up on the street, drug abuse, prostitution. They traffic her to Russia or Turkey or somewhere. There's really no hope for them. So she started a charity for these young women called Mer Hooys. And it's MERHOOUSY anyway, but hopefully we'll be able to put up that charity. But yeah, they're wonderful girls, and that's really where her heart is. And she's been over to Yerevan several times, overseeing the charity.
Wow, that's
Wow,
really great.
Good for her.
Orphanage,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. And I noticed on your website also she's a partner in your
Yes, she
firm?
is.
In your-
Yeah, she.
That's
I
nice.
met Lisa. She was Chief Deputy Director to Governor Schwarzenegger. She's a keynote speaker over lunch. It's like 10, 11 years ago. She's so brilliant, so impressive. And, I was intimidated as hell, but I got to know her. I was chairing another conference at the time, and I needed some help on material. She helped me. We started dating 2 weeks later and been together ever since. But I do not draft a document. I mean, she was also cabinet secretary for Governor Wilson. So if I need anything to go to the media or what have you, it goes to her first always. Otherwise, I'll say something
good
stupid.
partner to have in many ways then.
She keeps me out of trouble a lot.
Oh, that's good.
She keeps you on point, huh?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So then you've been involved in several charities. So the Unicamp Children's Charity, and then you were also involved. Why did you leave that charity to go to, or that nonprofit?
Well, it's a very long story, and maybe I should kind of back up to how I fell into Unicamp.
Okay.
Because, well, maybe if I just take this sequentially, I came to California in my truck with furniture, drove into LA. Now, I had my undergraduate degree, Bachelor of Architecture, my master's, business financing, and I'm going to get a good job here in California because it was an economic bloodbath in Texas when I left there. But the problem was in real estate, and particularly commercial real estate with developers, big egos, whatever, you got to know somebody. That's number one.
Sure.
And number two, you can't be from Texas if you're in California, right? The California Texan thing is just, oil and water. So I had two strikes against me. I did not know a single person when I got here. I just drove into town and started looking for jobs in the newspaper, LA Times. Look. Finally, I went to this recruiter that said they could find a job for me. I think they're called Apple One. I get there. They asked me if I knew word processing, wanted to know how many words a minute I could type. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, I was getting depressed. And so all of a sudden, after like the 1,000th resume out, I get a call from CalFed Bank. They have this master limited partnership on Wall Street, which is sort of a fund you create on Wall Street and sell shares in. And they needed someone to buy real estate for them, office buildings and shopping malls and what have you. And so they got like 500 resumes for one job. And then I went in and evidently I said something that wasn't stupid and they hired me. So that was my first step into it. But then, back in the late 80s, early 90s, insurance companies owned real estate. And if it was an office tower, if it was a shopping mall, it was probably owned by either an insurance company or a client of theirs, a pension fund. And that's where all the many billions came from. The biggest of the big was Prudential Insurance Company of America. They owned more real estate than any entity outside of the federal government. And it was a very posh kind of position to get in. And I wanted to get in, but didn't know how to. Fortunately for me, I accepted a job before I came to California as faculty at University of Texas teaching. Guy brought me on board. Dr. Charlie Wurzbach was brilliant in real estate. Knew him well. He went to work for Prudential overseeing their portfolio. So I called Charlie up and said, hey, Charlie, I need a job. And he goes, okay, go talk to him. Use me as a reference. So next thing I know, I left CalFed and went over to Prudential. And that was an interesting story. And trust me, this may sound boring, but it's going where you want it to go. But I have to take these, tell you a little background. So while at Prudential, I had degrees from, God forbid, University of Texas, where everyone else, Stanford, Wharton, Harvard, University of Chicago, all these.
Hey, isn't that where Matthew McConaughey's teaching right now? Is that he's teaching a drama class or something?
All right, my man.
He's from Texas.
McConaughey.
Texas Longhorn fan.
Yeah.
You watch any football game, he's out there on the field. No, he's a great guy. I never met him, but he is just I really like that guy.
There's a lot of good people from Texas. I attest to that.
Thank you. We need as many testimonies as we can get, particularly after what happened last week, but let's not go there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we won't go there.
I'm sure the two of you are going to be doing many podcasts in the future over Fallout. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I was a nobody at Prudential. Everyone else, had positions over me, and it was hard for me to get any kind of gravitas because these were all they looked down at me. Most of the people in executive positions. So I just did my job, showed up, worked hard, and tried not to create any waves. If people were going out to dinner, I wouldn't go with them because it was just for the more elite group. So I started thinking, I knew I wasn't going to make any inroads politically within Prudential, but I had Prudential on my business card. right? And that opened up the world to me. So I'm thinking, in my industry, they have all these real estate organizations. There's none dedicated to big transactional professionals. So I thought, why don't I create that organization? And so I called a guy I knew, Richard Pink. Now, Richard Pink is of Pink's Hot Dogs, right? The famous landmark.
Yeah, which I've never eaten to this day, and I'm really
I don't like hot dogs, but Pink's.
Well, I just wanted to because Pink's.
It's not the healthiest, but man, they're good. I've eaten there many times. A lot of stories with Richard and me over at his little restaurant there. But in any case, what people don't know about Richard Pink was he's got his MBA law degree, brilliant man, and he ran these real estate funds for Germany and others where he was doing what I was doing, but he was an icon in the industry. But we just met at a conference and liked each other. So I said, let's go have breakfast, Richard. I want to talk to you about something. Went and had breakfast and let's start this organization. He loved the concept. And he goes, okay, well, are we going to have, like president, chairman? I go, yeah, Richard, you're chairman, I'm president. There's the two of us right now. So he goes, okay, great. Who we're going to get there? And I said, only senior executives of the biggest of the big, the top brass, CEOs, whatever. We're going to keep it to that level. He goes, yeah, because, Richard likes to be in that environment. So one by one, I start contacting these offices of all of these big funds, Equitable, Aetna, Reef, and giant powerhouses in the real estate industry, going to the very top saying, here's presenting the concept to the secretary. Here's what we're going to do. We love so-and-so to join us in LA. It'll be a high-level conference. Richard Pink will be there. And every time I got a positive response, then I'd say, Richard Pink and, Hamid Mognam and da-da-da-da-da, and throwing out all these names. And it started to build. And, of course, these guys knew each other talking. Next thing I know, Prudential owned the office towers, the Twin Towers in Century City. We had a floor for conferences. I was able to get that floor for this. No one at Prudential knew this was going on. And people were flying in from all over the country for this. And these guys were all 2 years older than me at the time. They were just, somebody made a joke that if a bomb went off in the room, they'd wipe out real estate for the country because it was sort of a very high level thing. And so I'm like, this is so cool, so cool. Well, word did start to get out. Everybody's calling me, hey, Jeff, can I get in the group? Can I get in the group? And then, of course, someone at Prudential found out and they said, well, why are you going? Shouldn't I be the one going? Shouldn't I be? I go, well, I'm president and I make those decisions. I tell you. And I said, we can only have one rep from a company. And, I wish we had the room. It's just,
I love it.
And so they were all jealous of me, but I put them in a catch-22. They couldn't do anything punitive against me because I controlled the real estate organization they wanted to get into, and I'd invite one every once in a while as a guest, but, so that got bigger and bigger. It's called the Real Estate Investment Advisory Council. We incorporated. Next thing I know, there's a chapter in Chicago. There's a chapter in Boston. There's a chapter in Phoenix.
Wow.
A chapter in San Francisco. Even a chapter in Hong Kong. And it's getting
that's
bigger
awesome.
and bigger. And it's getting all this national recognition. And I was just doing this by the seat of my pants, right? And so as it got bigger, one of the sponsors, a fellow by the name of Richard Markowitz, who's a real tall guy, played for the Atlanta Hawks. Have you ever heard of them? No, I haven't heard of them. Have you heard of the Atlanta what's the, not Atlanta Falcons, but the, I forget what NBA team it formed afterwards, but he was an NBA player. He calls me one day and he said, Jeff, someone is in real estate, wants to get in the group too. And I go, okay, well, who is it? And he goes, it's Jamal Wilkes. And I said, you mean NBA Laker, Hall of Famer, world champion, took the Bruins national. Yeah, he wants to get in the group. And interestingly, I wasn't that much into basketball. I'm like, but Richard, it's not that kind of a thing. It's about these senior executives. And my mind was all, it's going to have to be these top guys. And Jamal, who's, I just don't see how that's going to work. So he goes, look, Jamal wants to give you a call. Go out and have lunch with him. And I did. And I went out and had lunch with the Jamal Wilkes. And have you ever had in your life a moment that transformed the rest of your life forever? A pivotal moment. For me, it was lunch with Jamal Wilkes. I mean, that changed who I was in so many ways. Jamal turned out to be first of all, let me say Jamal is a scholastic All-American, straight A's at UCLA, while taking the Bruins to 2 national titles. So he's a very intelligent man, very much of the intellect, capable of being part of, rolling with our group. But more importantly, I have never met a human being that is more genuinely decent, honest, kind. His father was a preacher. His grandfather was a preacher. And after that lunch, we became closest friends, one of my best friends. And still, like last year when I got married, he was the one that gave the toast at my wedding, so we've stayed very close. So as I got to know Jamal and he started coming to these events we hosted, Jamal was chairman for UCLA Unicamp for underprivileged kids. Now this is the connection. So I'm talking to Jamal one day, and I really fell in love with the charity. And what Unicamp does, it takes underprivileged children, in LA, usually probably about 70% African American, maybe, or 60% African American, 30% Latino, and the rest, whatever. And it takes them up to camp where they can get guidance and counseling and open up to positive alternatives in life. And it's a beautiful thing because it's getting these kids at a young age saying there's a better way outside of gangs and drugs and violence and all that other stuff. Wonderful program. I really loved what it was about. So I'm sitting there with Jamal one day over lunch, and I said, hey, Jamal, we haven't had a big Christmas party for REIAC. We ought to have a big event. Not only invite the senior brass, but everybody in the industry. Finally give them an opportunity to rub elbows with all these top guys. He goes, well, that's a good idea, Jeff. And I said, and you know what else? We're going to do a charity event for Unicamp. Now, I thought Jamal would have said, fantastic. This is how good of a friend is. He was concerned for me. He goes, well, Jeff, REIAC is still growing, and are you sure it could be risky? And, are you sure you want to put REIAC at that kind of, it may not go well. And I thought, no, here's how it's going to work, Jamal. We say we're going to do it, and then we make it happen. That's it, period. We're going to do it. And so we had our first big event, open to the world. And I rented a huge yacht, one of these big hornblower yachts down in Marina Del Rey.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know
so
hornblower.
we packed it full of people. We went out in the ocean. We had a charity auction on board. Fantastic evening. Jamal was on fire that night. He was behind the microphone auctioning off stuff, talking about Unicamp. And we had a captive audience, obviously. I mean, what are they going to do? Go in the water? So by the time we got finished, we raised $8,000 net out for Unicamp. Great, yeah. Every year thereafter we started doing it. We did it at the Peterson Automotive Museum. I don't like having it at hotel ballrooms because it's the same rubber chicken, same, I me, I'm different. I always have to do something. One year we had it at the Museum of Flying in Santa Monica, where people ride flight simulators, and Edward James almost came to that when we honored him with an award. And Eddie's an interesting guy too. He loved what we were doing. But that was a night, we call it the High Flyers Ball, hence, Museum of Flying High Flyers. And then it stopped. So every year thereafter, it became the High Flyers Ball. And it was the ball. It was the #1 event in real estate everyone wanted to go to every year. And it was a lot of work for me, but, we were raising a lot of money for the charity. And one day I'm sitting down with a girl I know, and I said, I think this you need to do something. And I said, maybe we do it at a mansion, like, sort of like a Southern mansion, where we do it sort of that theme and whatever. And then she goes, well, I know the security guy over at the Playboy Mansion. I'm like, what, really? And then this is where the Playboy Mansion comes in. Now, as you know, Playboy is controversial for, women's groups and whatever. Donald Trump loved it because he's on the cover of Playboy magazine and he brags about that. Me, I'm ambivalent. I just think it would be a great way to make a lot of money for these kids.
Well,
and so
also,
I really ideal by Jamal, and Jamal was like, brilliant, Jeff. But that's you just can't. The Playboy Mansion does not open its doors for anybody. You got to be ESPN or MTV. I'm just a guy going in and saying, knock on the door, hey, can I have a party here? They would never do that, right? So that became the question, how do we get our event at the Playboy Mansion? And so we got lucky because at that time, Hefner was married to, I want to say her name was Kimberly, I think. And she wanted to help children's charities, and Unicamp is a children's charity. Number two, their next door neighbors, UCLA. They're in Homey Hills overseeing UCLA, and there's a little bit of tension there between the Hefner Mansion and UCLA. And they thought, great, we're going to help a charity there. And then lastly, when I put the phone call in and explained it, I said, I want to bring Jamal Wilkes. He'll tell you more about it. Okay, well, Jamal's coming. They opened the door. Went back there in one afternoon. It's a Thursday afternoon. They gave me a tour of the mansion, personal tour. I saw the little zoo there and what was down in the grotto and everything, and got to know the guys. And over time, those guys, first John Luther, who ran the state, was looking at me askance saying, is this guy for real? Are we going to hang ourselves with this guy? Convince him to do it. After that, after a few years, we became very close friends. And all the people at the mansion and I became really tight because we kept our word. Our parties are not like, I understand the MTV party, people were getting naked, jumping in the pool, ripping it apart. We were a staid group, guys coming in business suits, wealthy guys, whatever. And they liked that, and I'd get bands like Temptations, War, Doobie Brothers, Richard Marx, they'd come and play. And so it gave a little bit of a cachet, if you will. So that's how we started doing the Unicamp event. And then at that point, it became crazy. Everybody wanted to get involved with REIAC, and I kept the doors closed. And so, one night I'm walking around the Playboy Mansion during one of our event, and everybody's grabbed. There's 700 people. Everyone's trying to grab my short shirt collar saying, hey, come over here. I want you to meet. I can't walk 10 feet without people mobbing me, right? Now, I'm not an A-lister, not a B-lister. I'm not on the list, never was, never close to it. But that night, I knew what it was like to be a celebrity walking down the street and everybody wants a piece of you. And it's not good. I mean, it's not good. You don't like it because you want to have your piece and meet the people you want to meet and kind of float around, not have people grabbing you and just yelling at you everywhere you go. So I ended up hanging out in the mansion with John Luther and the Playboy staff, watching the party from a window, drinking scotch with them, having a good time. But, at that point in time, I'd be sitting there drinking and saying, here I am, a guy that loaded the truck, came to Los Angeles, didn't know a goddamn person, and next thing you know, I see my photo in the LA Times, they call it Tower of Influence, 20 most influential people in real estate. And there I am, how did this happen? But it's just seat of the pants, thinking out of the box, being creative. And so we started having events at the Playboy Mansion thereafter.
That was fascinating. Really interesting. And I didn't know all that. I've known you all these years. You were my neighbor. And I didn't know all of these details. You are a very humble man, Jeff.
Oh.
So you've always been the nicest too. So
I tell you what, I'll drink some more of this and I won't be so humble.